With GTA 6 being less than a year away and the Summer Game Fest being an absolute snooze fest, it's time to shift gears and give you some good old game recommendations for some GTA style games that you can play to make the wait for GTA 6 just a little bit more bearable. Obviously, this list is not going to be complete without at the very least mentioning Red Dead Redemption 2. The story is incredible and will definitely feel like a much slower pace than you're used to if you typically play GTA style games. Stick with it though, it is a truly remarkable game that has an incredible vibe, an incredible story, and genuinely is something that you should really just sit down and take your time with to play. You'll be able to spend a lot of hours in this one, especially if you go for 100%. You're probably looking at about a 100-hour game because of, well, mostly RNG and a lot of different collectibles and animal hunting that you have to do. But it's worth it because the game has so many different details and so many different things that makes me think personally that it really is Rockstar's best game, if not one of the greatest games of all time. If you are going to play it though, and you have the possibility, do try to play it on PC for the best experience. Playing it in higher frames and especially in higher graphic settings will enhance your experience by a lot. Though the console versions are still going to be fine, even though that they are on 30 FPS. And obviously, if you haven't yet, Red Dead Redemption 1 is also very much worth the play as well, now available on more consoles than it was a year or two ago. In the category of underrated and probably not talked about enough is Mad Max, a game that isn't exactly going to blow you away, but it's a decent game for those who like the vibe of the movies or just looking for a different take on the open world genre. Focused on mostly vehicle combat, you won't be doing a whole lot of ground shooting, but the vehicle combat is very solid, although the missions can be a little bit repetitive, mind you. American Fugitive is a very cool concept of a fugitive on the run in a top-down style game. While it is a bit more of a throwback to the original GTA games from the 90s, the game plays well enough and is rather enjoyable, especially for those who are looking for something unique and different. It's a pretty simple game that isn't very heavy on the story or is it going to blow your socks off, but it does enough interesting things to make it worth a play. It's a pretty cheap and pretty short game where you're looking at about 6 to 8 hours. The Precinct is another game from the same developer that was released recently that does the exact opposite, where you're a police officer instead of a fugitive. While I haven't played it a lot myself and don't know if I can really give you my personal recommendation, from what I've played, it felt like a pretty solid game to play and seemed to have a pretty interesting story going on too. Set in World War II era Paris, you are a former racing driver turned resistance fighter. A genuinely solid game that is a unique spin that is definitely worth a play, unless you are not a fan of World War II games at all, that is. The Sabotur does a lot of very interesting things with the war. The game uses its wanted system and has you take over parts of the city. I won't try to spoil too much because it's way more fun to figure it out yourself, but when I tell you that as you progress through the game, a lot of the city starts lighting up a lot more and you really start to notice that you actually are having an impact upon the city of Paris as you are joining the resistance fighters and trying to liberate more and more. Sadly though, the downside is that it's only available on PS3, 360 or PC, so if you're a PlayStation gamer, you might be out of luck here as backwards compatibility sadly isn't that great on PlayStation. I know this will sound a bit funny to some of you, but while Watch Dogs isn't exactly going to blow you away in terms of its story or really anything, it's a pretty decent franchise with some enjoyable games that can be picked up for cheap. At the time of recording, you can get all 3 games for just 20 euros on Steam. Watch Dogs 1 is very different from the other 2 as it's a lot more serious like GTA 4 was. While 2 and Legion are a lot more lighthearted and some might argue are a bit cringe at times, Legion especially is really cool with you being able to literally be anyone within the city of London. Watch Dogs really is that franchise where you shouldn't really expect an amazing story or anything like that, and while I personally feel that Watch Dogs 1 had a more interesting story than the other 2, it's generally more like a switch your brain off and have a bit of fun type of franchise rather than, expecting something super immersive. Which also applies of course to Saints Row. While Saints Row 2022 is something that most of us don't really want to talk about, the Saints Row franchise is really worth the play for any GTA fan that loved the 3D era. Saints Row 1 and 2 are definitely a lot more serious and more in line with like a GTA San Andreas in terms of what type of story to expect, and it is genuinely a good story too. While 3, 4 and Get Out of Hell are definitely on the more goofier side, but they're still worth playing, mind you, as they are a ton of fun. I mean, who doesn't like doing a bit of insurance fraud on a Sunday? Sadly, Saints Row 1 is stuck on the Xbox 360, though playable via backwards compatibility, and Saints Row 2 either needs you to download the Gentlemen of the Row mod if you're on PC, or once again, on an Xbox 360 or a PS3. PlayStation players once again are getting a bit shafted here, as neither of these games are available on their platform. Luckily, emulators do exist, and I'll leave it at that. Underrated and never got the sequel that it deserves, Sleeping Dogs is a very unique spin on what you would expect from a GTA-style game. Formerly known as True Crime, the devs decided to actually make a good game for once, and boy did they deliver. You play as an undercover cop trying to infiltrate the Triad organization with all the drama that comes with it. A genuinely well-written and well-made game that not only has great combat, but also pork buns.
Why don't you have a pork bun in your hand? You look like you could use a pork bun.
It is as close as you can possibly get to something that is very much a GTA-style game, but still does enough different things to not have it exactly be like GTA. Given the fact of the angle of the undercover cop, the very excellent hand-to-hand combat, and also the gun combat itself too. There's plenty of side activities and plenty of things in general to do. The world feels great, and just in general, it is an extremely solid game that honestly, out of all these games, if there's any that you have to pick, this is one of those games. And finally, the list couldn't possibly be complete without Mafia. A franchise that isn't completely open world and typically chooses a more chapter-based system of approach, aside from Mafia 3. It's very well written and offers plenty of laughs while giving you the trademark Mafia vibe. The first game can be played in two different ways, either the original only available on PC or the remake that is available on basically every single platform. While they did change a couple of things, the remake still does a great job at honoring the original game and has an incredible vibe to it. It is very good. If you have the option, I would personally go as far as to recommend by playing both of them, because they are really two different timepieces, and the original Mafia 1, released in 2002, I would argue still stands the test of time. It is an incredible game. Mafia 2 continues the story of Mafia 1 and is also very solid. The story especially is a very good reason to play the game. And also the character Joe, he is just simply fantastic. While Mafia 3 has some very repetitive mission design, the story and especially the music make it worth a try and pull through it. If you're a lover of 60s music or you're looking for a very authentic timepiece, this is the game for you. Mafia 3 often gets a bad reputation given its very repetitive mission design, but the story itself, to me, always has made it worth playing. And well, playing all these games is also a very good preparation for Mafia: The Old Country, which is coming out in August, which so far, judging from the trailers, is shaping up to be a very good game. Also, I know that some of you are probably going to ask in the comments, but what about Mindside, the game that Leslie Benzies had been working on over the past couple of years? Honestly, I don't know if I can recommend it or tell you to go be on the lookout for it, as a lot of it is currently pointing towards the game not shaping up to be too great. I haven't played it yet, but I will on Tuesday when it releases, so stay tuned to the channel for live streams and a review for whenever that releases, or if you're watching that after it, then check the channel for a potential review. But that is my list of game recommendations that you can definitely stay busy with until next year. If you have any other suggestions, feel free to let them know in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.